Good morning to everybody. This session is meant for people whom I call as business leaders today or tomorrow. Some may be already business leaders. So it's for them. In the current situation of this COVID-19, what are the impacts on banking technology leaders and banking technology per se? Is it what sort of an adversity is this? Why is it an adversity? And is it all just a gloomy thing, or is there a silver lining on the cloud? We'll see. That's the purpose of this session. We'll go, because we have started slightly late, we'll go straight away into it. As I mentioned briefly, the target audience is technology leaders. When I say technology, it's business leaders, the MBA guys who are there. And the profs and HODs and all, they're all already gurus. My special pranams, namaste, vanakkam to them. Because it's only because of the gurus that I am in this stage, that life is a long journey of learning, nothing but learning. I have been learning. I started as a banker, then a technocrat, then an advisor, cybersecurity specialist. All my avatars, people have been my gurus, whomsoever I met on the way. So I have a special place for them. What is the agenda of today's thing is we'll see what is the impact of the current COVID virus onto the banking scenario and the economy, people's lives, and then see. Already I was asked that the current batch is interested in AI, ML, RPA, and such things to be covered. So the solutions per se, when we are discussing, we'll discuss about solutions that are based on AI, ML, RPA, not about core banking and things like that, because the core banking by itself is more than 15 years old. People are quite familiar with it. So the benefits of technology, how banks have benefited, how the society has benefited, and what is happening in the current scenario, what are the opportunities, if any. So that's going to be the agenda. So again, it's called as COVID-19 virus or Chinese virus, by different name it's being called. The origin is said to be either the the Wuhan wet market or the Wuhan laboratory. It's for some other group of people to inquire and then decide, and whether inquiring will be of any use. Those are all beyond the scope of this. What is to be seen is it's the widest epidemic the world has seen since the Spanish flu, and the biggest threat to humanity, because the way people are getting killed like flies or mosquitoes is really scary, and we have not seen it in our life. When the last count, that is this morning when I checked, the figure is inching towards 4.9 million. It's close to 4.8 million. And the death toll is more than 312,000 to be around that range. And still the threat of infection is looming large. And every bullet is an important thing, because the threat of infection is still looming large, which means we have not got the grip over the situation. And it is worldwide. The impact is on worldwide, irrespective of person's country of origin, race, whether he's a rich man, poor man. It has affected the lives of everybody, and sadly there is no virus, a vaccine for that till date, which means we are still waiting for that for the solution, which means the threat is still continuing. That's the point. And most cities in the world are in some form of lockdown, varying degrees of lockdown on the classification of the green zone, red zone, orange zone, and things like that. Public gatherings mostly banned. I at least know a few of the marriages which have been postponed indefinitely. And another wedding was solemnized with just the parents and the bride and groom. And so many industries are closed. The supply chain linkage, forward and backward linkage, as they call, for agriculture and industry is totally thrown out of gear. There is a worldwide economic collapse, and another big impact is that 1.2 billion young people who are students of college and school level, they are all at home, and this is creating its own trouble for the for them psychologically, emotionally, and then they are losing precious time for getting educated and going on to the next step of launching their career. And over and even online classes and all is available. Hardly, I would say that that's not a big solution, because as of now, it's available to very few, small percentage of people. And frustration can set in. My point is, at this point of time, frustration can set in, and depression can set in, emotional strains can come in. So people have to be kept engaged, so that the positive mind framework of mind is maintained. 25% of the labor force is out of work, which is a scary number. I have not heard this, and because it's worldwide, it's a big point, because when we say people are out of job, it also means that there are families who are depending on them, are also their existence is threatened. So current scenario is really, and on the economy side also, it's a worldwide recession, and it's supposed to surpass the 1929-30 Great Depression, as it is known as. Students of economics will know that there were plenty of lessons learned during that period. And record unemployment, underemployment, people are asked to come in shifts where 100 people are there, 50 is enough, they are managing with 50, which means contractual and unorganized labor will be sent home. So that the impact is really seen. And on the other side, the healthcare infra is bursting at its seam. People are not able to handle the number of people who are coming. So much so that people with critical illnesses, like a person who has undergone bypass surgery, heart ailments, kidney ailments, they have been asked to stay at home. No, we cannot pay attention as we have got something more important to handle. No, imagine telling on the face of a person that something else is important than the person's life. Is really a pathetic thing. It is inhuman from their perspective, but doctors are forced to do it because of the capacity restrictions. Law and order machinery, again, equally overburdened. They don't even know, or in fact, as one police officer was telling, that it is blurring as to my, when I tell my boys, this is how they address their law and the police chief addresses this is my boys. I can't even tell them clearly that law is your job, law and order is your job, traffic is your job. No, it is all encompassed thing. They have to be humanitarian gestures are being shown. They have to be strict. So some people who are not able to handle that efficiently, when to be humane in approaching an individual who is coming, and when the person who is breaking law has to be handled. These are all lessons all over. Everybody is learning a lesson. And there are so many industries which are collapsing. And the airline, tourism, and travel sectors. In fact, in India's case, it's around 10% of the GDP is coming from tourism industry. Imagine 10% is not there. We already provide all our developmental expenses based on what is going to be the income. Now, in that, if somebody tells that, no, this year, boss, we have difficulty, tourists are not going to come. And even locally, people are not going to travel because travel restrictions are there. So imagine how the financial managers will have to handle these things. So they are also under pressure. Now, the combined impact on banking, why I say is computer seller sells computers, software seller sells software. What do the bankers sell? They sell finance. Money is their commodity. Now, you just go back to the slide. See that we are talking about recession, which means economy. Economy means finance. Unemployment means people have to be paid. If they are employed, they have to be paid salary, which is money. If they are unemployed, they have to be given support or doles, unemployment doles, which is money. Healthcare infrastructure has to be improved. Improvement, expansion of capacity means money. So every step, every individual item requires money, and as bankers are the ones who are handling money, they are impacted in all these. The rules of the games of banking are being slightly reframed. They have been asked to go smooth or liberal on their borrowers, as you would have seen from the packages announced by the governments in various countries. Now we'll go to the AML scenario in the field of finance from the gloomy things which we have discussed so far, where and how these things are being used. Artificial intelligence is initially when we started. I was in banking a few decades ago when I was in the development. We were one of the earliest to introduce decision support system, whether a person gives a figure, this is his income, this is his expense, these are his commitments, this is family size. So based on that, we used to arrive at the figure that, okay, this person, based on his disposable income, he can afford to make a repayment of X amount. So our lending should be within that. It can be his credit card limit or some other borrowing. These type of decisions are made more scientific because of the new aids and tools that are available at your disposal, namely artificial intelligence and machine learning. We'll see some examples of how the software works and how it's being applied into the field of finance. AI is actually helping the finance to take important credit decisions, and then quantitative modeling is a field which has developed in the recent decade, which is being used in every scenario, whether it is a forex trader or is a trader in futures and options, whether how will be the future of gold market or oil market. All those things are predictive modeling. All those things are aided by AI tools. And there is another important thing is financial risk because of international pressures and compliance requirements. Every financial company has to manage its risk prudently. Otherwise, they'll go out of business if they take up too many risky ventures. There also it's being used. There is another thing called valuation, where you'll be familiar with the startup scenario, angel funding, venture funding, and things like that. They all evaluate a company based on the business model and what is the value of a company, whether it is worthwhile funding them. Based on those things, they allow the finance to flow to that particular sector or to that particular company. Similarly, valuation is another basis on the basis of which a company which is interested will one minute. Whom should I approve? One second. I'm sorry. There is a request for approval of. I don't know. To go personally. I think somebody wanted approval to speak. I'll approve. Is that okay? Once again. Okay, I think we'll go on. I'll go ahead. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry for the interruption.
Hello, you are not visible.
So these are the valuations. What is the worth of the company depending on its market share, size, and a few things. So these are essential tools which will make the financial company to decide to approve funding or to. One second, I approved somebody who is not. I think, except I one request to. Okay. One request to somebody who asked for approve. I thought it was HOD, and then I approved him to speak, but he seemed to be somebody who's not connected. Can you please mute himself because it's causing disturbance to me? It's coming in my eyes. Some exchange is nice. Okay. Thank you. 1 minute. Let me just say the name of the person. Rudra Kumar Muniswamy. Since I don't know. Hello, these are somebody's. Okay, fine. I hope they don't talk and disturb the thread. We'll go. See, these are the. Hello.
நீங்க அனுப்புனதா
Can you
வரும். என்ன
can
அனுப்பணும்?
can you can you mute your mic? Can you mute your mic, please? So credit is king. This is another thing. See, whatever is the recent trends, as you would have seen, we use less and less of cash, more and more of credit and debit cards, and then banks day in and day out are under the uh, 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 business requirement to decide whether somebody is worth giving this credit. If so, what extent can be given. Now, these days, smart people are using it for even renting out their property before allowing. There are like worldwide, there are credit scores like CIBIL, what we have in India. So people go to this, check the score before renting out their property, before giving advances. Some smart, savvy boys and girls go and check. Instead of looking at the Facebook profile of a person, go look at his LinkedIn. You know his career prospects. Look at his CIBIL score. You know his financial thing. So that's a smart way of choosing your life partner. And already people are resorting to it. Matrimonial agencies are also resorting to it. So your credit rating, you know the value of it, how some of the life's important necessities hinge on that. So that's another lesson for youngsters like you to take care of your credit rating right from the beginning. Plan your finance, reduce your borrowings if possible. Try to live within your means. Only for acquiring assets like big assets like a house or a car, you may go in for a loan, depending on your capability to repay. And then, so AML solutions are used extensively in credit evaluation. Now, I'll give some 2 or 3 interesting examples. Zest Finance is one which developed its own machine learning platform with which companies were able to decide their underwriting solutions. What is underwriting? When a person agrees to finance or agrees to take care of risk, it could be like insurance, your vehicle insurance you take. If there is an accident and the third party is affected, the insurance company undertakes that they will take care of that expense to the third party. No, that is underwriting basically. This for non-finance people, brief explanation. So the Zest is a thing which what he developed is they went. Usually, all countries have got this CIBIL score based evaluation on this thing. Zest went one step further. In banking, you would know that the higher the risk, the higher the income. So what the banker would do is, then while lending, he will not be lending only to safe companies and guys. A small percentage of that he will lend to risky guys also, because that is where he gets the maximum, like financing of films or some other ventures which are still not proven. If it is proven and proves to be a success, that fellow will the lender will make a killing. So the Zest has that in also in this. So it has got even people who do not have CIBIL scores, individual people, unlisted companies. So their scores also, they have their own methodology of evaluating them and giving a score to them, and allowing this tool. Using this tool, companies are lending to them, and the impact is really good. They were able to reduce losses to the extent of 23%, and the companies were able to predict losses more accurately. Data robot is another one which has got, it's also a ML based solution which facilitates the business leaders, analysts, data scientists to get info on any company in the world, and then you'll be able to query about their finances. What is the current uh, uh, payables outstanding? Are they over borrowing? All those things you can know. And biggest plus in this is because it uses predictive modeling. It can tell scenario at this trend, if the company is continuing, or if the person is continuing on a spending spree, where will he land? When will he? No, that type of predictive modeling is tools are be inbuilt into it. That's why it's helping so many. It can detect that this particular credit card guy has been buying, or his debits have been coming from this particular zone. Suddenly it is coming from some other thing. Then there is a built-in fraud warning, because it's coming from an unknown geographical reason, this could be a possible case of a fraud. And then wealth management of companies, blockchain. There are so many things for which this tool is used. So the companies can evaluate, other underwriters can evaluate companies that are in this particular field based on market data, which data robot is going and then ferreting out. So it's able to, it enables companies to underwrite in a better way, with a more informed way. Risk management, as I said, with the Basel Committee recommendation in a banking scenario, where all banks were advised to reduce their risk and then monitor their risk closely. So risk-based operational risk, country risk, credit risk, there are different types of risk. Those things monitoring is important for a banker. Otherwise, his license may get cancelled, or his ability to trade in international market will get curtailed if somebody is violating that norm. So it's very important for bankers. So they take it very seriously. So Kensho is a thing. They found that there's a need there. So they started giving their solutions, which has got an intelligence and analytics based solution. Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, S&P Global, all the big shots, who's who of the international monetary scenario, they were all using their tool. Advantages, they were using natural language processing. NLP is another tool in which traders are actually guys who are maths guys, mathematical modeling, that they are busy with that. So they can't be like a typical database inquiry, select this field from this table, select star, all those things. They don't have the time. So with English like this thing, find out how cement industry is doing in Bolivia. You just type like that. Then it fetches out based on keyword and its own heuristic ability. It ferrets out information from Bolivia and cement sector. Then it compares with cement sector, how cement sector of Bolivia is doing in comparison to other countries, like that. And this particular company, how it is doing vis-a-vis the other companies in Bolivia in cement sector. To that extent, intuitively it could give, and all in simple English-like query, which is liked by traders a lot. And this is a few success, like it predicted currency movements based on Brexit. As and when it happened, this is how pound selling will move. Euro will move like this. So people simply, it became a darling of the traders. So much so that S&P Global, who were one of the users, found out that how effectively they could use this. And then they did, as I mentioned in the earlier slides, valuation, mergers and acquisition. They did that value, and then they acquired this company for $550 million US dollars. So, it's something like you are using a tool, and then you find that you are so impressed by the tool, the tool making company, that they bought out a company which has got hardly a dozen staff at $550 million. So that's how things are. Ayasdi is another risk management based thing. As I mentioned briefly, risk management is the in thing for bankers, because it's a question of survival. So they had come out with, again, risk management. They added some more pieces, like it can be a cloud-based solution or on-premise solution if there are privacy requirements. And they give when risk management could be one of the existing clients, the way he's being funded and the way his industry is working. Based on that, it can give a warning to the financial institution that you don't increase your exposure beyond this percentage to this company because of the industry is not doing well, or the sector itself is not doing well. And such intuitive things were coming because it is using artificial intelligence. It is using data points from outside also. Similarly, and because of this ability, bankers found that there are anti-money laundering requirements. Anti-money laundering, there's an organization called FATF, which prevents, and money laundering is an illegal way of transferring money, the ill-gotten wealth, through drug trade or smuggling, human trafficking. These are things which are despicable. And people who are making money, they want to use this money by bringing it to the banking channel. There are some methods in that. So that has to be prevented. There are internationally agreed norms which all countries have to follow to prevent those things. Those are all anti-money laundering activities. So this is a big because a small bank also has got millions of transactions per day. In that, you have to find out which are the transactions which are to be likely to be money laundering, which are likely to attract the provisions of money laundering. And if the failure to report that attracts heavy penalties, repeated failures could lead even to the arrest of the CEO, or depending on whether it's deliberate or not, or billions of dollars of fine on the thing. Imagine, so the banks cannot afford that type of loss or a fine. So what they do is they constantly monitor, have compliance officers sit. Their job is only to look at such transactions. But how? Even though the core banking system is there, it is computerized, there are millions of transactions in every bank. How do they select those transactions? See, this has got some intuitive tools in that, based on which it can detect possible candidate. You can give define a threshold. I want to see all transactions above 5 lakhs. Same or too many transactions put through by a same company to a notorious country. No, that type of thing. Intuitive queries can be given by a compliance officer to extract that. So he has got a less number of transactions to look into, so that his money laundering has become compliance with the size of the transaction becomes less. He'll be able to work more efficiently. In fact, it's a proven thing that more than 20% of the volume, investigative volume, has been reduced. So it's a dulling of the compliance officers. There is another important buzzword or important tool that's doing rounds, is the robotic process automation. Or it's a simple thing. Like what happened in the assembly line industry in manufacturing sector is happening in the with more and more sophistication of the software and the artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities. Routine, repetitive things that are happening in a bank can be done by a robotic process than an individual sitting there. We'll see the examples and use cases because this is the in thing in banking industry now, and already many are using this. If you would have felt it if you try to log into some insurance portal or a banking portal, immediately a chatbot appears and says, "Welcome to this. I'm XYZ talking. What would you like to do?" Then you just say, this all means a chatbot which has got a natural language processing interface working there. You say that I want to know the fixed deposit interest rate, or I want to find a small loan, get a small loan. You just say that. Then based on keywords, and it analyzes the database and then gives the ferrets out the information and then gives it to you. So imagine setting a person to sit. You have to set up a call center to answer those queries, whereas a chatbot with one simple script can handle that effectively. So that's the benefit of, and banks are leveraging this to a great extent these days. So, but how to set up that? Setting up that is an extensive process, because the process flow of the bank, its lending process or account opening process has to be systematically defined in the procedures, then built into a rule-based steps have to be defined. It has to be tested by a manual, vetted by a manual person who's an expert in that field. No, but it's actually from the computer side, it's quite simple, like a macro in an Excel. People write macros without blinking an eye. So similarly, once it is tested, set that it is as per the bank's policy. Like for example, up to 10,000 rupees loan, bank does not ask for the guarantee, something like that. Or for a salaried person, 1 month's salary is given as advance. If the bank has got a rule, somebody logs in, then it automatically triggers a question: do you have a salary account with us? Somebody says, I want a loan. Do you have a salary account with us? If so, what is your take-home salary? How much loan you want? These are all things, inquiry, which instead of a man or a human being sitting, the chatbot itself can handle, and then say that yes, you'll be able to see. Please approach based on where you are drawing salary. Please approach that branch with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 documents. That's it. This case is done. And in some cases, it can the RPA tools are so smart that it can trigger like spawning of transaction. We say in programming. So it will spawn a transaction that, okay, this guy inquired, his mobile number is this. So the marketing department of the bank gets an email or an SMS so that they call and they say, this guy has got huge funds he wants to deposit, or he has got a need. He's an industrialist. He has a need for finance, so he just approach and then get that. So it can give a. It's not just. It gives an indication to the bank and triggers further transactions also as a human being would do it. So to that extent, it's useful. So which are the areas in which robots are using? We'll see the how, what, and the why of it. So the customer service is an area where instead of these days, what is happening is the human-to-human interface is becoming less, not just because of the corona. This even earlier, because banks are becoming leaner, flatter organizations. So people and the new generation, Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, all those people, they don't want to go to a bank, visit a bank, because visiting is it involves traffic, time. So they want, for the sake of basic info, who would like to go to a bank? So chatbot is an easier way. So RPA they facilitate that easily. So because it's rule based, it just asks for a few questions and asks for a few documents. In fact, some of the RPS is so smart that it can even capture, okay, what is your, if you already have an account with us, give your customer ID or your account number. Then it gets the info from that account. It does not even ask those questions because it can automate, as I said in the earlier slide, that it can trigger transaction, fetch data from the existing database, and then it can trigger. So similarly, an existing account holder, he says, I want a credit card. You are an existing customer. Yes, please give your customer account number or customer ID. Then it fetches that, and then automatically it sees how the transaction is going on. Then it says that it can trigger, it submits an application because all the master data of the person is there, including span. So it triggers an application that he can be granted 10,000 or 20,000, and then it triggers an application which a person would have spent so much time and at least 1 or 2 visits to the bank. Now it's all done online. Similarly, account closure is the thing when the guy has shifted from one place to another place because of change of job or some other reason. He wants to close his account. Then automatically it asks for a few questions. What do you want to close? Or is it just because of relocation? Then he says, yes, I'm going to Pune. I've been transferred from Chennai to Pune. Then he says, okay, we have a branch in Pune. We have an option of transferring the account. Like that, intuitively it will tell, and then so that the client does not go out of the bank. No, so it helps the bank. For him also in a new place, he has to find out somebody to introduce him. All those things are taken care of. So account closure also is another. Anything that is rule based or anything that is repetitive can be done easily by an RPA. And what are the benefits? The thing is that it relieves the bank staff, bankers from mundane tasks about this thing. Anybody who comes here says, no, you have 3 documents, you have to give your Aadhaar, you have got your PAN. These are the things you have to give. They usually write in a small paper and then bring all these things, you can open an account. Those things can be repetitive, mundane jobs can be done by a machine better. And the second half of the day, human beings become tired, they become irritable, whereas the guy may be an important valued, who would have proved to be a valued customer, whereas a machine does not become tired or a bot does not become tired. It always is polite, it talks to them nicely. So it works at the same efficiency. So that's what those, and if there is a crowd, suddenly the government of India decides that due to financial inclusion requirement, 8 crore people will be opening an account with the banking system in India within 2 months. So how do you handle such a thing without tools like RBI? It's very difficult for bankers to physically, manually to add 8 crore accounts. No? Of course, we have done that. And there are better ways of handling it using RPA tools. And because RPA does not become tired, it maintains the operational efficiency throughout the scene. How is it cost effective? Historically, it has been proven that instead of keeping a person and attending to such mundane job, because of the efficiency and repetitive nature of job can be handled by a machine in a better way, 25 to 50% of the time and effort is saved. So it automatically leads to cost effectiveness. And that particular time saved, because as I said, new compliance requirements are very heavy on the banks, the employee's time can be used more productively for more critical areas like recovery of loans, development of new business, and compliance report checking, money laundering checking. All those things can be done. That is a benefit to the bank. And availability is another thing. As IT guys would have known, availability is defined as it's that particular. There's a system or a computer. When you want to use that should be available to you, then that is called as availability. For example, you want to use internet at the telecom guy says that we have got 2 Gbps line. You'll be getting this at all levels. So there's a service level agreement. At an agreed level of speed, he is agreeing it. But we find that it is not there. So then we have a right to ask them. Then he says, okay, sorry, we'll improve in your building. Maybe we have got more business clients. That's why the speed is coming down. So he'll increase his capacity. So this takes adding infra in the case of normal telecom. Whereas here, in the case of RPA is, as we know, it's only a small piece of software or code running, and it's already running on all banks are running core banking software and other software running. So this is going to run on their existing hardware, on their OS. So robots, and one thing is that they are available 24/7, and so there's no special need for making something available by having an extra line and all, because already existing infrastructure is there. Similarly, there's no infrastructure cost because it's going to run on the existing hardware and software, the AMC on that, all those things. There are no new costs added to it. That's a zero infrastructure cost. And faster implementation. This is actually, because it's only a small piece of code, it can be done at any, it's very easy to implement and then maintain. With in some cases, it's the code itself will take care. With some customizing, some minimal coding may be required in some non-standard environment. Otherwise, there is not even a coding requirement. So it's very easy to implement. Something like drag and drop. So another important thing is that banks have been there in India, and at least in the West, if you see, banks keep on closing. What is known as a small loans bank, small finance bank, regional such within a particular street, there will be a bank, particular colony, there will be a bank. So they keep collapsing because they cannot take in case of something going wrong. Whereas in India and other mature markets, there are banks which are running for more than 100-year-old banks are there. There are more than 100-year-old banks in India. So in that case, their data will be there. In like I was when I was in the bank itself, we saw some 3 to 4 types of migrations from earlier standalone computers, then networked computers, and using client servers, then Unix-based computers, then supercomputer, then LAN computers, LAN-based computers, then mainframe computers. These are all. So whenever there is a big platform change, the data in the earlier one is mostly gone. So you want to see the credit. There are, for example, in the bank where I was working, there are clients who have been tea estate owners who have been banking with us since 1875. So are some industrial units who are banking with us for 90 years and all. So we have to, if you want to see the credit history or some of the transactions because of some legal requirement, we may have to see sometimes in interbranch transactions, this money which was sent from some other branch, it is not traceable. Such a thing, which means you have to go back to legacy data, which is there in some other system. That OS itself may not be there. The spool tape system, which was there, you may not even have drives for that. This type of problems do come, and if it comes from a code, you cannot say that I don't have the data, then it will land the bank in trouble. So across the system, across the several migrations that have taken place in the bank, sometimes we may have to access data, and RPA enables banks to access data across legacy system because they have got what is known as brokers or data bridges to extract data, convert, and then view them together. So then we'll see a few bank use cases. We have seen most of them. The examples we have seen is a customer onboarding is a thing. People have to make 1 or 2 trips to the bank. What are the things they have to get? Those things are all automated, as I said, using RPA tools. Similarly, KYC is know your bank, know your customer requirements. These are again, a bank has got to follow so many rules. Some rules are imposed by its own company or the banking company. Their management puts. Some of them are put by the state in which they are operating. Some by the central bank, or it's known as the Bank of India in our country. Other places it's known as the central bank of the country, federal bank or the central bank. So they impose certain compliance requirements. International organizations like FATF, sorry, they have some requirements like money laundering, and Home Ministry and such interior ministries and would like to monitor a few things to avoid human trafficking, drug money transfer, terrorist funding. So all those things have to be monitored based on a few data, master data of the. For that we require the KYC data is very essential. Otherwise, you cannot even start transactions in that company. So these are all made very easy by very sorry by the automated RPAs, which scan the document of a person. It could be a PAN or Aadhaar, and then sometimes get the data from the country's centralized database, like in the case of Aadhaar database, or from the PAN database, and then automate the process. So that's how things are made. These days, there are modern banks in India which use, which are without you to have to touch a pen, you can open an account. No, even the signature, they put it on the touch screen of the pad. So that extent, it fetches your data and you can open an account. And so onboarding has really saved a lot of manual errors, spelling mistakes, address mistakes. All those things are which avoided because it fetches the data from Aadhaar or PAN automatically. KYC we already seen. If based on AML screening, you know whether that customer could be a potential client who can misuse his position. All those things are automatically scanned by the RPA. And then similarly, whether his credit worthiness checked already, we just saw earlier. And so automating the manual process for suspicious transactions, which we are supposed to report to a few authorities, those are also automated by RPA, which is it's found very useful for that. Compliance, as we already handled it, the compliance from different agencies and our own management and the central bank, the governing bank of the country. We have to report suspicious activity have to be reported in a particular form. In the case of, because of if transactions are heavy, usually banks are very busy during the last week and the first week because of salary, pension payment and all. So they delay sending the suspicious activity transaction report. But if they are not reported within a particular 2 working days or something like that, that attracts penalty. So those things also can be taken care of if it is automated using an RPA tool or something like that. So this reduces employing a person exclusively, a compliance officer and a team under him, so that it reduces operational costs. So and it brings in more efficiency also because it's automated mostly. Now we come to the current scenario imposed by this COVID thing. There is, as we saw earlier, work from home is a new norm, and essential services like healthcare, policing, ambulance, banking also is affected because one end people are not able to visit banks. So what banks are rising up? So every sector that is touched, they want to help people. So healthcare is trying to increase its capacity within the limits available and postponing surgeries that are not immediately needed, like that, they try to reschedule. Similarly, banks are using mobile ATMs because people cannot come out of their homes. Now at least it's relaxed under 3.0 and 4.0 lockdowns. Before earlier period, banks started using mobile ATMs in a van. And then policing also, they had to almost stop their normal crime patrolling and things like that because they are busy with other things. And what do we hear? The new buzzwords are social distancing and rebooting economy, flattening the curve and things like that. And another threat that is looming large on all the countries is that the rating agencies are going to downgrade the country as a whole. When a country is downgraded, exactly like an individual, if your credit rating is not good, when you go to borrow A, the bank may say, no, we cannot lend you because your rating is bad. Similarly, when a country goes for borrowing, the international lending agencies may say, no, we cannot lend to you. Or we lend to you, but if we are lending to others at X percentage, because you are a poor rating, you will have to pay X plus 2% or something like that, which is making it more expensive. This is the current scenario at which we have landed. Now, at this stage, I want you to pass. We'll revisit the previous slide. I want you to think like a, see, you are all business leader. In fact, when I was discussing with a friend of mine, they are students, and how can you address them as business leaders? Though I told my friend that no, they are the ones. When Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, they all were students. They had bright ideas. They started. So business leaders are born. They are born leaders, and they are brimming with ideas. So I want you to be brimming with ideas in this critical scenario, critical situation. So just for the sake of that, I want you to look at this screen and then look at every word, every sentence, think. We'll resume after 1 minute because I want you to think about it. There's no outage. I just wanted to give you some time to think. We've revisited. Now,
Hello, Sundar.
yes, sir.
Can you hear me? It is very nice to listen from you from the latest development of banking industry.
Yeah.
I have a little doubt. If we go for all this automation, that leads to job cut. Do you agree with me, or?
Yeah. We'll. I got just one more slide. Can you take?
Okay, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead with that, Mr. Sundar.
Yeah.
Nice talking.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice of you.
Yeah. So next slide is you'll be able to see it, no? Can you all see the new one?
I could see that.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So COVID-19 impact on who are the new players? If you see that, every crisis in life comes with its own pains, and more often than not, many opportunities. So what has happened in the first week, the government itself was clueless, not just our government, every government, because lockdown is a thing which they had not done before, and this is thrust upon them because of the situation, the way the virus was being spread, and then people were falling like flies. So they had to do something, so immediately they imposed the lockdown. Other things we'll see later. That's what they said. If you have a life, you can handle other things. No, that's the thing. In Hindi they say "jaan hai, jahan hai." So when you're alive, you can handle crisis. So that's what they said. So they started handling crisis. The second week, then the governments realized that no, people cannot stop living. So they need essentials. Essentials could be food, medicines. So they started doing things. So what happened is some smart players like Zomato is a good example where he had a few thousand delivery boys and girls who were ready to deliver in any corner of city in many places. So what they did is and Grofers had a network of stores from which they could source their groceries. So when the government released groceries along with medicines, Zomato entered into a tie-up immediately, and they started delivering groceries. Similarly, others, Meesho and then Paytm, they started coming out with solution and they started delivering. Sorry. Similarly, Zoom was and then as I mentioned earlier, 1.2 billion students were sitting at home along with their parents who were working from home, and they had to be engaged productively. So online classes, so the governments encouraged universities to launch online classes. So professors hurriedly, they started putting up materials, and then they started online classes so that the students don't lose precious time. Suddenly, from nowhere, a small company like Zoom started becoming big. Now they hold 39% of the video conferencing market share, and other players like even big players like Cisco and who had software, Microsoft and Google, they all their own meeting software. They did not scale up in time. These guys captured the market share. Queued at Fit is another interesting thing. With lockdown, you sit at home, and it started with gym enthusiasts, because there are if a person has been working out regularly an hour a day, you just suddenly ask him, no, you cannot go out, gyms are all closed because of social distancing. He becomes really out of place. So Q.Fit gave an app-based solution. It already had everything. They scaled it so well, and they started giving even people who are not into physical activity, they became curious. They want to know what is power yoga, Pilates, all different types of exercises. They started cross-selling those stuff, and also they started expanding their this within this 1 month. Baiju said that, okay, Baiju is another learning app for school kids. So they started giving their software. They said you can download the software free, but I don't know if there is something in the fine print because I have not downloaded. So they started offering classes online, including some tutor-based classes and all. So what differentiated these companies from others who threw up their hands? Whenever there's a crisis, you observe the crisis, who are the people who are affected, what is the need of the market you try to fill. Was there a player already in the field, and because of the new changed environment, there is a gap in his service? Can you try to fill the gap? This is what, because I expect you are doing MBA, so you're business guys. Basically, it is your chosen domain as banking technology. So financial sector, maybe your chosen domain. But as you would know from the startup revolution, there are people who are coming out with IT guys coming out with healthcare based revolutions, solutions. So it's possible because we can learn from other sectors also. So based on these things, I want you as business leaders, young business leaders, because that's one thing I like a lot. In fact, unfortunately, this has become because of the situation, it's a web conference method. Otherwise, I always like to see youngsters, because they are always brimming with ideas and their enthusiasm is unmatched. I get to learn a lot from youngsters. So I would have preferred to a face-to-face this thing. God willing, in some other topic, some other time, we would like to do that when we hope the situation improve. I want you all to think on those lines and then find out solution. Now, what are the advantages that are there in the current scenario is that already, apart from the fact that the country is encouraging people to think about new ideas, Startup India, Skill India, there are so many projects already in operation. Now there's a new impetus for the Atmanirbhar or self-reliance in everything. So self-reliance in software, self-reliance in hardware, parallel computing, AI, ML solutions, analytics, different branches of analytics, as predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, different types of analytics are there. What can you do in that? And if you want, you can restrict yourself to banking technology and think, or sky is the limit. You can give a solution to health sector. Health sector will not say no because they are under pressure now. Policing. Now, policemen are employing the maximum number of photographers because they know how to operate drone cameras. Somebody was in between, somebody came on the line and then say that this type of RPA, will it not lead to job losses? Are you not throwing people, engaging missions and then throwing them out of job? For that, I would say that when computerization started in banks, this was an argument using which many people opposed computerization. Now, you tell me as a customer, would you like to walk into a branch which is using pens and registers? Would you like to bank with a bank which does not offer you an app-based banking or an internet banking? Or you can use a credit card only in a physical store. I don't think anybody would prefer that. So times have changed. So I won't say that there will not be any job losses. There will be job losses. But there will be new jobs and the existing people would have to be reskilled. For example, there can be a photographer sorry, who was not aware of how to operate a drone. You can pick up that skill in 2 hours, right? So a photographer, by reskilling himself, he becomes a drone photographer and he gets hired by the local police because they require them in large numbers. So reskilling the existing people is one method. And there are new type of jobs available, like in the field of analytics. So reorient our education system towards such things so that the new jobs which are currently in demand or which will be in demand in the short term and the medium term, we should change our syllabus and courses to suit that. Then now coming to the current crisis, that's how we address the employment situation. Sorry, because there was a question I answered. So there's a higher demand for, because in a house, two grown-ups are watching Netflix, and two grown-ups, the children are attending classes. So there is higher bandwidth. So the telecom guys have to scale up. So there could be how quickly they can scale up, increase the bandwidth. Those are all jobs which will be coming. Then people are accessing office computers, especially bank computers or even scientific lab computers from their home. Home computer is riddled with chat software, verified, unverified. OS itself may be not updated. All those flaws are there. But with this, from this computer, he is accessing. Some people go one step further. In my house, I get disturbed. So I go to the nearest browsing center. From there, I log into my office computer, which is all the more worse. In the browsing center, who don't know who's the guy who was sitting earlier to you in that workstation, or who's the guy who's going to sit next to you. So guys which have to give technological solutions which will not be very heavy software, but which should give what is known as a sandboxing tools or an encrypted tunnel, so that when this person, session-based encryption as it is called, once the session is closed, all the data that came during that period should get wiped out. And there are other concepts like data leakage prevention. Even during this session, somebody can snoop and then get the data, if it is a bank data or a scientific labs data. So how to prevent the data, that if they say data at rest and data in motion, different types of security tools are there. They have to be, these innovations have to happen in these fields. And this is where, as youngsters, you may not, if you are technically savvy, you can ideate and then plan the solution with yourselves, or associate yourself with some tech savvy guys, some BTech guys, easy guys. Then as use your MBA skills and then try to, so you tell them, I have found that there is a need for this type of thing. who knows, you may be the next unicorn, $1 billion company from Pondicherry. So my last message to you before opening for Q&A session is that situation is bad for physical health and in some cases mental health because people are quarantined for a long time. So you take care of your near and dear ones physically and emotionally by supporting them, and you'll be doing a lot of service to the family as well as to the community. As a business leader, I want you to look for such gaps where you can start a company or scale an existing platform and then offer solutions. And indigenous solutions is what the government wants, because we want to be self-reliant instead of depending on somebody. Zoom is being used right, left, and center, in spite of the fact that some people are not happy with the security that's built around it. They've improved the encryption portion, but the ownership and other things continue to remain the same. So which cause concern to many. So it is not just India which wants a tool like that. World over, there is need for 5G based technologies or such video conferencing technologies, which will be light on lightware, as they call, no? In the software also, like chatbot, it should be running something like that. At the end of the session, it should erase all the data so that you give the assurance to the people that whatever they discuss during the session is safe. So put on your hats, identify the gaps that are there in the banking sector and other sectors. Don't restrict yourself to banking sector, even though that is your core area, because you are a business leader, and luckily you have got exposure to technology scenario also. So with that, keep an open mind and then find out gaps, monetize them, help yourself, your family, your friends by taking them on board, and the country as a whole. That is my message. So the outlook can be made positive if you look positive and look around for opportunities in this hour of crisis. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Now I open it for question and answer.
Hello, I'm Sundar.
Yes, yes.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Gopanasamy from Tamil Nadu. So you have addressed
Hi,
that.
good afternoon.
Nice to talk, listen to you from the crisis time. So you addressed major issues, what we are going to face, what are the difficulties the banking companies are facing, even in the common man we are facing.
Yes.
Change is unchangeable. That is the order of the day. We have to move for some other options that will help us to have a better life. You have put your message very clear, crystal clear. I thank a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you. Bye.
Thank you. Sir, how do we other people ask questions? Maybe the person who has got mic access, read from the chat and then tell. We'd like to add a few questions. Oh, question box. Okay, fine. Three other. I think first question. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah. This question is from Mr. Sudalimuthi Shanmugam. He says, what type of new job opportunities are going to be created in the banks? How students can equip themselves to grasp these opportunities? It's a brilliant question. I partially address this. We all have this concern in our minds that job losses necessitated by this the situation in the prevailing in the economy, and job losses because of the lack of skills. Okay, because we are there may be still universities which are teaching COBOL or the early form of C and things like that. And those guys, when they come out to the market, they are not just employable. So how do they handle their situation? They also have to be breadwinners. They also have dreams. They have families to support. What I would suggest is that, again, this crisis has given us a fantastic opportunity, like Coursera. there are so many, almost all universities, including, you can attend a course from Cambridge, Carnegie Mellon and all, online without spending any money. Coursera also offers its courses free. Only if you want to get a certificate in print form, you have to pay some fees. So what I would suggest is, depending on two things. One is your interest, proficiency. Another is what is in demand. Try to match. If you can match all of them, nothing like that. You've got the, for a musician, if he becomes a professional singer, then what happens? He loves music and he gets paid for that. So you choose a field which is to your liking. Equip yourself by attending these courses. I know, because for HR, I have quite a good number of friends in HR. They, except in case of a job which they have to present to an agency, they do not expect certifications in print. A pass is accepted for an entry level. So I know many HR people who are selecting it. So much so that, so equip yourself in the current, what is in current demand, like analytics and such things. But at the same time, I don't want you to think only about technology. In non-technology, there are so many business opportunities. Some basic accounting is what everybody should know, because at one stage, you are, as MBAs, you want to be entrepreneurs. So you should have some basic accounting knowledge, basic skills of managing people, because if you are able to manage people and finance, half the battle is won. Okay, so I would suggest people to attend such courses and then prepare themselves to face the real world. I hope I have answered, Mr. Sudalai. We'll go to the next question. How badly is the NPA crisis which is going to happen in the banking sector due to the current situation where repayment capacity is highly limited? This is again a very fantastic question as a banker. But what has happened is governments all over are very sympathetic, and with the in Indian government, one thing that is realized is that for every dollar spent in a bigger industry and a medium and small scale industry, the small scale industry produces 3 to 5 times more jobs. So the government is very kind and they want to support that. Even the big industries realize this. In those days, we realized if it's a car factory, they would right from steering cover, they were trying to manufacture everything. Then that method went off with Japanese innovation, just-in-time inventory, and so many other things that have happened. Outsourcing is the order of the day. So the ancillary industries and the outsourcing are here to stay. So the small and medium industries will continue to be there. So the government, what they have done is, the NPA, almost from what the finance minister addressed yesterday and the week earlier, they have almost postponed the NPA classification by 6 months, and in some cases 1 year. So this crisis has been postponed by 1 year. So within this period, they have to work hard, come back, and then make their account regular by the end of 1 year. This is one method. Another method is that there are restructuring. In fact, I know quite a few friends of mine, and there's one Tamil Nadu-based agency, I forgot the name, I can tell, which specializes in rescheduling and restructuring of loans itself, and they cater to the needs of small and medium sector only. So they can approach such companies, and being a government company, even their consulting fee is not high, I believe. So they can reschedule, restructure their loan, speak to the bankers. They are quite sympathetic because the government has driven so well, and even Reserve Bank has agreed for that. Even though the NPA norms were imposed on us by the Basel Committee, which is an international norm, now all are in the same boat. So all countries are liberalizing that. So the NPA crisis, I don't think it's going to affect, at least for the next 1 year. That is my feel. Banks will be, this is about what the impact of NPA on the borrowers. The impact of NPA on the banks, already they have they've suffered a lot. they have lost quite a good amount of money. We saw how the balance sheets have been going for the past 2 years. And the government has come out in support of them. But the new norms will help the banks also, that their reserve requirements towards these things will come down. So the banks, apart from that, there will be some financial support to the banks also, which are lending to small and medium industries and agricultural sector, because that is the focus of the government, because that is where the most vulnerable people are there. Most families are supported by these particular firms. So their actions towards that. And how AI can detect early defaulting borrowers, what we were doing as manual this thing, they can do it the same way. AI intuitively can see, these days you cannot buy a big asset without a PAN, and AI tool can intuitively. In fact, they got I was talking about Zest Points as one of the software. It goes beyond what is there. It gets data from the industry and the market. For example, there is a guy who's a borrower from X. He buys a car. His company, for the industry loan, he's not repaying. His own people salary, he's not repaying. He's buying an expensive car in his wife's name. There are tools which can detect such things and says that recent most expensive items bought, if it comes out, it analyzes and then say that this could be a clear case of what is in banking terms we know as diversion of funds. What is lent for a productive purpose of running an industry is being used for their consumption or a luxury car. So to that extent, tools are powerful. They get data points and then they gather data. They can gather data. So rural banks are completely ready for virtual banking. How automation, the credibility of banks? Hani. It's also a good question. See, rural banks, if you, I don't know whether history of banking is taught to you as one of the subjects. Public sector banks, private sector banks, now rural banks, urban cooperative banks, rural cooperatives, regional rural banks. There are different types of banks to cater to different target segments. Right from their infrastructure and the salary structure, everything is tuned to that, because how do banks operate? They take deposits at a particular rate of interest, say X, they lend at X plus 2. This 2 is called as spread in banking terms. The spread is the one within which they have to meet all their expenses and run their banks. So RRBs have a different structure than regular banks. So I don't think rural banks are fully prepared for virtual banking, and I don't think it is expected of them also. Even though to a limited extent they are giving mobile-based alerts and things like that, I think the purpose for which they are created is not that, because otherwise what will happen? Your expenses will go up and the spread will come down and they'll collapse. Instead of allowing a bank to collapse with the risking the rural people's deposits go down the drain, it is better to give one or two facilities less, because I don't think a farmer expects online banking, at least as of today's situation. He would like to have balance alert that already they can give. So that is my question of the first half. How automation will impact the credibility of banks? I really don't understand the intent of this question. Credibility of the bank, how do I believe a bank? Based on what I believe a bank, it should have a good balance sheet. It should be a stable thing. If I'm a depositor, if I'm a borrower, it should be humane and considerate to my credit needs. I base on that as the credibility of a bank. It says I'll give you 9% rate of interest, it should give 9%. It says I'll lend you at 11%, it should be at 11%, and at the scheduled thing. So beyond this, I don't know what Hani means by credibility. I think good bank, bad banks are balance sheet based if you are a depositor. If how considerate and quickly they are giving your meeting your credit needs is if you are a borrower. That's what. If you are an investor, then how much return you are getting. These are the major stakeholders of a bank. So I don't know in what meaning this credibility is used in this. What I understood, I have explained. Vijay Lakshmi, big platform change necessitates data migration. How the industry leverages this idea to be competitive enough. The industry, I believe it's, I call it, I don't think it's, okay, I put it this way. What I meant for you, business leaders, is that big platform needs change necessitates data migration, right? So one of you, or with a guy who has got the background, can start a company facilitating data migration. I'll port all your 50-year-old data into a current format and then give it to you. Start a data migration service and then price it properly. You will have good business. I still know countries in Europe and even in Middle East which have got old mainframes running. They've got those data in that. And of course, so many of the data may be useful, may not be useful. We don't know that. But that is that management to decide. For migration, if they want, we can offer a service. India as a country, so like how we did so well in fields like medical prescription and digitization of electronic libraries, India did 90% of the world's job. So like that, migration is one place where I think India can contribute because we have trained manpower and it's easy for us to do. And we are hardworking people, basically. So that's another business idea, Vijay Lakshmi. You can even take it up. Jayed, will the current pandemic affect the machine learning models which are already in place as customer behavior is going to change and there will be a lot of data anomaly and missing data? See, as a person who has been handling data for the past 30 plus years, data integrity is an issue if the capture of the data is at different points. So centralized data capture or referring to a centralized data is one of the models in which we can maintain integrity. And allowing, these are data science axioms. I'm not giving any gyan out of thin air. So when a good example is Aadhaar. When people gave their data at that time, but it was done in a hurry because we had to meet the data. Imagine such a huge country, billions of things. Initially, people said it is not even possible. So we did that. So now once the basic job of in any large data capture, these are the steps. In the beginning itself, you go in for purity of data, the progress will not be there and people will lose faith. Because in computerization started in banks, this is how we did. So low-hanging fruits make people realize the fruits of computerization. The same way, capture the data that will immediately help them in some business decisions. And to detect anomalies, check with somebody has given his father's name as something in Aadhaar, something else in PAN card. Okay, give them an opportunity to correct it through online, or create some jobs by creating e-seva centers. Some new guys who have some basic computer skills, he can do that. That's exactly what government has been doing. Even passport e-sevas has created jobs in the private sector, which should have actually gone to government sector. You remember? You look at that. Because government all over the world are realizing that there are a few things which have to be given to the private sector. That's where public-private partnership is emerging in so many fields. So that efficiency can be brought in. People can be given. Now, people are impatient. When a person gets his job done in a bank in minutes, the government says that you just submit this form, come after 15 days for your address to be changed. People expect the same because they live in a different world. Governments are realizing that's why they are doing that thing. So the missing data can be captured. If it is personally identifiable data, the person only should be able to give because there are some privacy requirements on that. Else, it's publicly available data that can be taken from other databases. I hope missing data that can be filled. I hope I have addressed your question, Jayad. In the pandemic, even in the pandemic crisis time, many of the NRI coming back to India, they have worked in many MNC and experienced persons. In this situation, any suggestion to fresher how to get jobs to manage the current situation, sir? What is your idea? This is a typical question. I laughed because I lost my job and then came back from abroad, right? So when I was trying for a job, I flipped that question and then say that you always want young graduates because they have got more energy, they'll work long hours. How do we experienced people, middle-aged people will get a job? So that's why I laughed. I laughed at myself, not at your question. It's a valid question because my laughter, I tried to show you that it is always the feeling that a young person, when he goes, attends an interview, the person, because I've sat on both sides. I've attended interviews, I've conducted interviews in the government, private sector, banks, elsewhere. So when a person is really skilled, see the ifs, and the company is in dire need of that particular skill set, they will hire you at any cost, irrespective of. Now, in fact, as I saw on WhatsApp clip, which I wanted to load, I couldn't do it because it's the last minute thing, where a person says that one of the things that is coming is that location does not matter now in the new situation of work from home. You want a job in Google for their US office. You can apply from here. If you prove that you have the skill set, you are taken on board, you can deliver. In fact, I know so many of the compliance jobs have come to India, and even though they are actually compliance officers of a bank, which is US-based bank. No, to that extent, things are happening. So, NRIs are coming back, but the problem is they have their own limitations in the sense that their skill set and experience and background is different from youngsters who are coming out of MBA. So don't think that people will prefer them. Now I have recruited people in which I have preferred a few things like in cybersecurity there are a few branches in which I did not want experienced people, because there are areas in which people have to think horizontally, and experienced people, including myself, we are conditioned to think in a particular way. So that is the reason why we don't take people. So the same is the case. There are a few fields in which they don't want experienced people because it is easier to learn a skill than to unlearn what you have already learned and you have been doing. So this employer will have in their mind. So don't be dejected by that. They are not going to be a threat to you because of two limitations. One, they will not come for the salary at which you are going to work. B, they are not going to come with the skill set which you have. Like the skill set I have in database is some Oracle version, I think it's Oracle government, so the versions are different. Whereas you guys might have touched the Oracle more recent version. So if I go to a job and I can do Oracle audit or compliance, who will the company prefer, me or him? No. That zamana is gone. That age is gone. We want somebody with a fresh set of skills with the current technology. So that way, I think the dice is loaded as much against them as it is against you, as you perceive. No, that's my reason. I hope I've answered. AI-based banking solution has contained the banking frauds and crimes. Contained is a in English. No, you have to use words very carefully. Reduced, I would say yes. See, there are in controls, there are preventive control, detective controls, and corrective controls, as they say. Before a fraud takes place, you prevent. For that, you should build a robust system with the systems and controls in place. Still, people overcome that and then do that. Then you should have controls which detect such frauds, and there should be systems which will correct that. So detective and corrective controls are there in some places. preventive controls are there in a big place. You might have heard about a more than 100-year-old Barings Bank being sunk by one single trader in Singapore using a few trades. Those things are not possible now. Such trades, it's known as limit checks and authority checks, automatic triggering of higher level authorization. These are all things which are done by AI. In fact, I've done some work on that, but I'm bound by some privacy requirement, so I cannot tell in detail. There are cases where AI has helped, and it is helping. It is helping to save the bank itself, not frauds, bank itself, because there are people who can, one trader can close down a 100-year bank. You just read Google Barings Bank scandal or something like that. You'll get the details. Bhagya Joseph, how Indian banks should help businesses proactively to cope with the impact going on. I think the government itself has drafted so many things. As of now, the first tranche they were concentrating on migrants and big industries. Second one, they are coming by sector, medium scale and small scale and urban poor and agricultural sector is what is being addressed in what finance minister addressed yesterday. So the banks are lending, enabling the sectoral flow of funds, as they call this particular sector, so much money to flow. Direct benefit, you'll be amazed. Nowhere in the world it has happened. A few lakhs crores of funds have flown directly into the accounts of the poor, agriculturists, and migrants within these 2 weeks, including small industrialists. This has happened and it is happening. So government is trying to, is very empathetic, and they are trying to mitigate because of the sheer volume and size. It's taking time. And I personally believe the way it's being handled is good. We are in the right direction. And with other individuals on the technically trained and knowledgeable people like us, the educated new MBAs, also can guide people by sparing some time in your by volunteering to help small industries to automate their jobs, tell them that how they can do it more efficiently. If you can spare 1 hour in a week, you can help some small industries, right? You can do that also. That's how we work as a community. Unclaimed deposit can be used to come out of this crisis by Government of India. Okay, this is yes and no, because there are some laws governing that. So it depends on that. See, you should understand one thing. In banking, there is. I think I came across a good WhatsApp joke where somebody comes to check into a hotel. How much time do you have? Anyway, 2 minutes, I'll finish this. Somebody comes to a hotel, he wants to check into the hotel. So he gives a $100 bill. I'm not the author, so some intelligent guy has written it. So $100 bill, and he wants to check the room before checking in. So he just goes to check the rooms. This guy has to pay the restaurant fellow. This is only a lodge, not a hotel. So he goes to the restaurant fellow, pays him, I have to pay you $100. You just take this $100. So this $100 is given to the restaurant fellow. Restaurant fellow calls this milk woman, I have to pay you milk money, $100. You just take this $100. She gives to the milk fellow. And the milk fellow in turn goes and then gives to a customer that I have to, I've borrowed this money from you. Please take this money. I got this money back. That guy who borrowed had stayed in a room in this hotel. So he came and then said that, no, last week I did not have money, so I couldn't pay my room rent. Please take this money. So he gives this $100 back. Now, the guy who went to see the room comes back and then sees that, no, the toilet is dirty. I do not like this room. I want my money back. He takes his money and then walks back. Now, think about these transactions. The guy who triggered it, the guy who came for the room, did not stay in the room at all. He did not pay any money. The hotel did not receive any money from him. The hotel did not provide any service to him. Right? So, they are level. But how many people got benefited in this? This is the value of money. somebody has liquidated his debt. He had liquidated his debt to the to the restaurant fellow. Restaurant fellow has liquidated his debt to the milkwoman. Milkwoman has liquidated his debt to the one of her customers, and that customer has cleared his dues to the hotel. This is the power of money. Banks exactly do this. So there are certain very strict government norms and legal norms are there. So they cannot simply touch unclaimed deposit. Even the government cannot touch because there are some legal requirements, unclaimed deposit. But as I narrated in this story, they can use this for some productive asset, and then as and when somebody, the unclaimed becomes claimed, they can pay. So that is possible, but they cannot use this because you use the word use. I have to use. They can use this, but they cannot use up this. There's a difference between the two.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. I don't know how much time do you have, moderator? Okay, Kanagaraj. Till I'm stopped. My mic is removed. I'll answer. Kanagaraj sir, in case of technology, what kind of challenges do Indian banks have to compete with world banks at this pandemic? There is a saying in I don't know. Most of you understand. Most of you understand Tamil. I think I can quote this in the thing, and for others I'll explain. Or ஊர்ல ஒருத்தர் செத்தா சாவு, எல்லா வீட்லயும் செத்தாங்கன்னா there's nobody to mourn, right? So in one house, if somebody dies, there is death. They'll be mourning. In Bhopal gas tragedy, every house had a dead person. So there's nobody to even mourn. They didn't have the time to mourn. They have to get on with life. Banks world over are in the same situation. So competing, no, they have their own backs to cover, and then they have balance sheets to clear. So that way, and that's another important ray of hope we get from the Prime Minister's address, that self-reliant. That is an exact thing we have to do. So we'll be self-reliant, address all our concerns, and our banks will take care of it because they are built on. Well, in fact, collapse of banks is a thing which is so common in the West. You just Google American banks, something like that, then you'll know. Whereas in India, it's so rare. In the recent, some 1 or 2 cases are there, but depositors have not lost money because we have got robust protection for depositors, deposit insurance credit guarantee scheme and all. Up to 5 lakhs deposits protected for scheduled commercial banks. There are rules like that. So that way, our banks can compete with world banks. The usage of technology is easier for us because technology is available from our own boys and our own companies, right? So they can put them to test, like something like vaccine being tested and put to field trial and then immediately launching. We can launch products faster than others because most of the developers are India-centric. So that way, I think other banks should worry that we have got an undue advantage. That's how I look at it. I'm an optimist. Krishna Giti. What are the possible threats from the emergence of technology in banking sector? Threats from the emergence of technology. We briefly addressed that people who do not reskill themselves are going to be in, I wouldn't say use the word dinosaurs, they are going to be in difficulty. As again, Kalvi Karayile, Tarkum Natsila. Life is too short, there is so much to learn. Keep on learning, and luckily we have got platforms, online courses, including world famous Ivy League universities are offering courses free online. Please keep on learning, make your time, use your time productively. That will keep you away from depression and bad company also. Discuss positive things with your friends, and this is what I learned today. This course I saw, which was interesting. I feel predictive analytics will do well. Discuss such things with people, and some people suggest that you can have a mentor and then keep interacting with him. That's also tried and tested method. So that's what I hope I have answered the question. Ramshad Palarama. As India was highly globally connected before the crisis, and we were dependent from household level necessities to industry level raw materials from China, how does this issue drive to self-sufficient economy? It's a brilliant question, and it's an international question, not just our PM. Every PM is concerned with this. It's a difficult situation because you should understand, I don't know, just Google investments of that country. Right from owning fertile agricultural lands in Nile Delta, some of the fertile lands in many other African countries, owning mines in Australia, and like this, you just Google, you can see the tentacles are there everywhere. It's a huge problem which has to be handled at a very high level. At a very high level means not even at one country's level. So it has to be handled. It's a delicate thing because I've done some work on international relations and I worked abroad and all. So I cannot spell out many seasons, but as they say, people who understand can understand. It's a delicate thing, and as of now, people are handling it well. Some posturing is happening, some saber rattling also is going on. Let's wait and see. It's all beyond us. It's when it is beyond our PM, you and I are small people, right? It's beyond beyond one country. It's to the same. What we can self-sufficient economy is that. What is our strength? Many countries, in fact, if you take UP, you can put two countries into it, right? Two European countries into it. UP, MP, Maharashtra, I think you can put a portion of Europe and UK into it. So what is our strength? Always play to your strength. Domestic demand is the biggest thing. Like education, Baidu understood that demand. 1.2 billion people are sitting idle. Boss, I have got the level, I have got the infrastructure ready to roll out classes. I just take some material, roll out. So he can expand too easily, right? Because even the domestic demand, if you meet, you're a billionaire, rupee billionaire at least, right? So that way, if we can address that, we have won half the battle. By then, I think, let us hope that countries also will understand in the long run, cunningness does not pay, goodness pays. You cannot ruin the life of your neighbor and become a rich person. You may rob his peace and then be happy about it. But as we have got examples in our own neighborhood, one person's full-time job was create trouble for us, even at the cost of forgetting his own economy. Where is he economically? Where are we economically? What is our life expectancy? We started together at the same level. What is our life expectancy? What is the average level of education? So that way, our domestic demand, we concentrate on being productive and being honest, will take us a long way. The external threats will be handled by people who are at that level. Let's leave it to them. That's my take on that. Recent words in news, credit crunch, tightening in bank, how it will impact the economy. Now, actually, this happened pre-COVID. Now, there's a concept called sectoral flow of funds. The government is very particular about a few sectors being taken care of. The word is taken care of. There was a finance minister, there are multi-level of talk, because I was people who are at the helm of affairs in banks. There is a multiple level of discussions were there. Chief ministers to prime minister, chief secretaries to secretaries, chief secretaries directly to PM, and finance ministers separately, health ministers separately, and Reserve Bank and all chief secretaries, Reserve Bank and all bank chiefs. No, at multiple levels, were talking about it. Now this has come to say that don't bother about credit crunch. Sectoral flow of funds to the chosen sectors have to reach. In many cases, as I said, in the world, we have created record of direct benefit transfer to even the industrialists. unto the poor farmers and other people. So that is being taken care of. So let's not, I feel there will not be any credit crunch to the areas where jobs are being generated immediately or jobs are being protected. I think that, in my opinion, because of my knowledge in banking and other economy, I feel in the short term and the medium term, at least for one year, the vulnerable sectors have been protected. And with economy, wheels of economy, when they start operating, like the $100 bill, there will be what is known as the benefits flowing to others also. That's my take. I hope I answered. I almost answered all the questions except the one which came very late. But my time is up. It's almost 1:05. So I hope this time was beneficial to you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the opportunity.